Hello and welcome to the National Weather Service Winter SKYWARN Spotter Training Program video series. This video is part one of a 6-video series that will take you through the National Weather Service Pittsburgh Winter SKYWARN Spotter Training Program, at which you can conclude with a quiz at the end of this and become a spotter for our spotter network. The National Weather Service mission and vision is that we develop a weather-ready nation, a society that's prepared for and responds to the impacts of weather, water, and climate-dependent events. We utilize things like weather forecasts, climate forecasts, water assimilation, and impact-based decision support services to help various communities protect life and property and enhance the local economy of the region. Note that the National Weather Service is the sole agency responsible for issuing watches and warnings across the entire country. So when you have things like a winter storm watch, a winter storm warning, those sort of products and that information is being provided by our agency. We are actively engaging a variety of different sectors. This is not just an agency that provides a high temperature, low temperature. We will work with a lot of different communities like emergency management, forestry services, aviation operations, and more, and provide all sorts of different forecasts that cater to those needs of those communities. We also engage a lot of different community outreach like this sort of Winter SKYWARN program does to help everybody be able to become ready and responsive and resilient to hazardous weather events. Did you know that on average, the nation experiences 650 deaths and nearly $15 billion in damage losses due to the impacts of hazardous and extreme weather? So this information in this course hopefully helps you become more aware of what is going to happen during the winter season and how you can partake in that program. Our office, the National Weather Service office, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, contains 23 employees that help to carry out that mission. We have 13 operational meteorologist forecasters, along with 4 electronic and IT personnel, and other different meteorological staff, management, and assistants that help to make sure that both all of our products are issued, our IT support and information technologies in place, and all of our services are delivered on time. Our office does operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Weather never stops, so neither do we. And we are one of 122 offices all across the United States, including Puerto Rico and Guam. The National Weather Service Pittsburgh office covers a wide area across the upper Ohio River Valley that includes portions of western Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, and eastern Ohio, with the various counties that you can see listed here as well. Note that, again, we service a lot of different communities and areas for the region, which includes 9 different airports that we create daily forecasts for, and multiple rivers like the Ohio River, Allegheny rivers that we provide daily forecasts for entities that use those tributaries. During this Winter SKYWARN training program, we're going to go through 6 different topics, including the typical winter storm patterns, forecasting and weather monitoring tools, winter hazards, winter hazard climatology, winter weather products, and snowfall measuring reporting. In this specific video, we're going to talk about the typical winter storm patterns that you might see through a given winter and what to expect with those different patterns. First type of pattern that we typically discuss and see through the upper Ohio River Valley region is called the Alberta Clipper. This name refers to an area of low pressure that develops kind of around the Alberta, Canada area and moves down to the southeast and typically moves very rapidly through the region. When these systems move through, a lot of times they bring in a lot colder air. They're coming a little bit more closer to the Arctic regions and are dragging down colder air on the backside of the low pressure, typically behind a cold front. Now, due to the fast-moving nature of these systems, it sometimes can be difficult for us to accumulate a lot of snow, as well as given that they're starting near the kind of land mass that is central United States, central Canada, there's a lot less moisture with which that system can work with. So these systems tend to be drier, colder, but they can have a narrow band that can still have a a significant punch of snowfall accumulation and can create whiteout type conditions. So typically, if you see these sort of systems that may go through our region, think of it as fast moving but quick amounts of snow that could cause, even though it's maybe a couple inches, can still be impactful because of how quickly it falls. The next type of winter storm pattern is a Colorado low. Here we're tracking basically an area of low pressure that develops along the Colorado Front Range and moves east through the United States towards the Atlantic coastline. Because of where it's positioned, it's better able to draw moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico and then sometimes even from the Atlantic. This allows it to drag moisture into the cold regions that are located to the north of the center of the low. So when you have this moisture combined with the cold air on the north side of the low, you can have this nice swath of heavier snowfall that accompanies this. We're talking 6, 8, 10, 12 inches of snowfall and potentially even more. This is a pretty common low pressure track, and it's one that really can vary and create a lot of different issues. As you see with the yellow line, those areas with this sort of low track would get a lot of snow. What we try to do on our end is try to figure out where that center of that low ends up going. The farther north it goes, more of that warmer, wet moisture ends up working into the Pittsburgh forecast area. That probably leads to more just rain, maybe freezing rain, but not a whole lot of snowfall accumulation. A little bit farther south that low pressure system tracks, we might be more in line with that yellow band and get heavier snow. So be prepared for that. You can see a lot of snow, and it really all depends on that track of that low to where sees rain versus who sees snow. The last notable pattern we want to point out is called a nor'easter. Many people have heard this before and maybe even associate it with the Snowmageddon of February 2010. And so what this sort of winter system is we have an area of low pressure that kind of develops around the Gulf of Mexico and tracks northeast along the Atlantic coastline. By being so close to each of these bodies of water, it's able to draw in a ton of moisture into the system, which allows it to generate a lot of snowfall. With the cold air being positioned generally to the west of that area or center of low pressure, it's locations that are on the western periphery of the low that potentially could see 1-2 feet of snow, and what we ended up seeing with that snow again. Similar to the Colorado low, it's all about where the center of the low tracks. If we can get it far enough inland where that heaviest band then develops over the Pittsburgh forecast area, that's when we can see really heavy amounts of snow. If it intends to be more along the coastline or farther east, we may not see anything at all, and it creates a stark gradient of snowfall accumulation. So when you see or hear people discuss nor'easters, know that this could pack quite a big wallop of amount of snow, just depending on where that heaviest snow band lies in relation to the center of the low. One of the last things we want to discuss isn't necessarily a winter storm, but we kind of hear it discussed a lot, and that's a polar vortex. Note that this is not a storm system, and it's not something that's new. It's always been around. We just have more context to how to describe it and to why things are happening across the region. What the polar vortex is this area of very stable cold air that's develops in the higher regions of the atmosphere and near each of the polars, the North Pole and the South Pole. What can happen is as things become a little bit destabilized, you can have warm air that starts to move towards the northern pole and cold air that starts to move towards the equator. This is all part of the very typical process of Earth trying to seek balance between hot and cold and cooling its overall surface temperature. Well, what can happen is if you get a piece of this polar vortex or a piece of this very cold air, it can move southward far enough where it can advance into portions of the United States. And so when we're talking polar vortex, what we're seeing is one of these outbreaks of very cold air that could drop temperatures to single digits, negative degrees, and potentially for multiple days. So when we're analyzing our weather models and putting out forecasts, we're trying to track where these outbreaks may go. Maybe they go here, maybe they're farther out to our west, or even different portions of the northern hemisphere. But the polar vortex basically is associated with cold air that could intrude from the polar regions into the United States region. So that concludes this first video. Please look into the comments section of this video for more information on this winter weather series and to see the next video as part of this playlist. Thank you very much and have a great day.